Welcome to Press Publish NYC.
I don't even know where to start. I spent 24 hours with Colin and Samir, got to meet a bunch of amazing creators, got to hang out in a space with them, got to record some content, got to learn something, and it was totally worth it. Like, so many people asked me before coming, like, why are you going? And it's like, why wouldn't I? For me, this whole trip was really about closing a loop. First of all, I used to live in New York and I left, and I really haven't been back since. And coming back to New York has really given me perspective on, am I on the right path? Did I make the right decisions? Where would I be if I had stayed? And honestly, I love this city. I think New York's an amazing place, but I'm also very happy that I left, and I'm very happy with leaving filmmaking and going into content creation and becoming a podcaster. And so that was one really important loop for me to close. But then the other very obvious important loop was finally meeting Colin and Samir in person, because I can't say I've been a super fan from their rise throughout the pandemic, and like I've been very active in their community, and I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing without them. Like, I think that might not mean anything to you, but what Casey and Neistat is to them, they are to me. They are the core inspiration that instilled the belief that what I want to do is possible. And so finally getting some real face time with them and having a conversation with them has been the most rewarding thing. But really, it was just really good to be here and connect and see that other creators are also really craving this in-person experience. So I asked a bunch of creators the same three questions. What's the best thing about being a creator? What's the worst thing about being a creator? And what does success look like for you? And so many people, so many creators answered the question about what's the worst part with some version of like,
It can get lonely.
It can be such an isolating thing.
Sometimes it can be a little lonely.
you're just by yourself, you don't have anybody to talk to. It can be lonely, you're just sitting in front of your screen. All those things that we really, really struggle with, and that I'm trying to solve it a little bit. At least I'm trying to bring together creators. And so I think that's really going to be the next step, to figure out how can we alleviate this? How can we create more connections between each other and create these like coworker water cooler conversation that happened all throughout yesterday and this whole week, to be honest, for me. So yeah, a key highlight was also getting to chat with, record some videos with Cleo Abrams.
Hi.
She is truly one of a kind. It's the best way to describe it, like for me, or I had a chat with somebody at the event. It's just like, Cleo is the full package. She is incredibly smart, incredibly savvy when it comes to creation, hyper focused on what she's trying to communicate. But I also had a chat with her about structuring conversations and how she approaches her interviews. And that was probably my personal highlight of the whole event, because she talks a lot about having a key visual and making people, giving people a way to easily visualize and understand what is going on, right? It's a narrative device. And I asked her, like, that's cool, but like, how do you apply this to conversations? And she was like, well, you can't really do that in conversations, or less so, but you can still create metaphors. You can still create visuals in the audience's mind. But like, she gave the example of talking with Sam Altman about AI, and like, right now we're here, but we want to be on this house that is on top of a hill, and there's a road, and there's probably multiple ways to get up that hill. How does this road look like? What are the steps that we have to take to get from point A to point B? And with this metaphor, you create an image in the listeners and the viewer's mind, and it's like, oh yeah, you're right. So it can be the same question that you want to ask, but like, how can you visualize this question? I think is a really interesting question to ask yourself or ask myself before structuring a conversation. And there was also something I asked her, like, how much do you plan the conversation ahead of time? How much do you let the guest kind of direct the conversation? And she was like very firm. I'm like, no, 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 no. You are in the driver's seat. You are shaping the conversation. So it is very much pre-planned from what I've gathered. And that makes a lot of sense. She has people across from her who know how to shape a conversation, who know what they want the public opinion to be. Um, and so it makes sense to be very, very specific about the questions and plan them ahead of time. I'm still going back and forth on that in the sense of I like to, I always have a plan when I interview somebody, but they always open doors that I think are worth exploring. And, you know, it's with my guests, it's less about keeping a public persona, public image, or, you know, keeping stock prices up. Um, and so I think that is something I can do that I might not be able to do with a Sam Altman, right? If I had a conversation with him, it probably would get derailed really quick. So that was absolutely my personal favorite highlight in terms of like, you know, meeting big creators. But beyond that, it was getting to chat with people I've only known online so far. And like Francis Zierer, who runs Creator Spotlight, Mia, I'm not going to pronounce her last name, who is a producer for Digital Spaghetti Patreon, has her own show as well. And a handful of other people. I mean, Mel and Rodrigo, who I've known through Gist. There's so many more people. Meeting Charles in person. It's like he was just on the show, and a couple weeks later we meet in New York. And it genuinely feels like old friends meeting. Like that was the feeling with almost all creators that I have some kind of online interaction. It's just like, oh, meeting an old friend, and like there's like, hey, how you doing, what you've been up to. It's not like the whole like, what do you do, intro spiel, whatever. And one more thing that I really think is worth highlighting is how well this event was structured, especially in the context of being a creator and this common struggle that it is hard to have conversations with other creators. We don't have much face-to-face interaction. And I think Gall and Samir are very aware of it, because most events that I've gone to are just panel after panel and multiple stages, and like there are all these things to do and go to besides having a conversation with the person sitting next to you. And so what they did very intentionally was make space to mingle, to network, to strike up a conversation. Like the schedule was one part of it, to have this dedicated space. They encouraged it anytime there was a call for a break. They were like, go talk to somebody. Even I think before the first panel or something, they were like, go introduce yourself to the person next to you. There were like prompts all over the place, on the walls, in the bathroom, on the coffee sleeves. So they made it incredibly easy to make new connections. And I really, really appreciate that. And then there was one stage with one focus. And you could go see the stage or what's happening on the stage, which most people did, but you could still go to the other side of the room and have a conversation there, which I really appreciate. So there was never a sense of FOMO for me. Like most events are like all these super sexy titles, and you feel like you have to be everywhere, and then half of them are disappointing, and you don't get enough time to actually talk with your friends, with the people that you want to connect with. So I really, really, really want to highlight that and drive that home. And I would love to bring an experience like this to Europe. I think it is desperately missing, but I also understand why this happens in New York and LA and London and not in Berlin or Vienna or Barcelona. And the reason why this happens in a huge metropolis like New York is density. There were, I don't know, at least 20, from my perspective, local New York creators, probably a lot more. And then people come from all over. It is super easy to get to New York, or super easy, that's maybe the wrong word, but New York is accessible. They bring on Casey Neistat as a special guest because obviously he is here. They bring in Stephen Bartlett as a special guest because he was recording here today. And so, am I going to fly out Casey for a day for 1 hour of speaking? No, probably not. Is there a heavyweight creator like this in my area? Not really. And so if I would put up an event in Vienna, the scope of it would snowball really, really fast because I have to motivate people to come here. Everybody has a reason to go to New York, even if they don't. Like, it is New York. You want to go see it. There's a few people, it was the first time here, and that's super fun to see. The pre-party was on a cruise ship, and it was the first time for a lot of people on a cruise ship, and that's super fun to see. And it creates this special kind of experience. I love this openness, this mixing of people from all over the place. Like, people traveled for this event from India, from Australia, from Portugal, Spain, Austria, or probably other places as well. It's so fascinating to see, and I really, really hope and wish and want to contribute to creating something like that in Europe. But I don't mean London, and I don't mean Berlin. I want to build something in Vienna, not just because it's my hometown, but because it is super centrally located. It has incredible quality of life and infrastructure. I think I have to collect my thoughts on that to really figure out how can we create an experience like this without having the density a New York has or an LA has. What the days here really showed me is that I am on the right track. What I want to do is totally possible. It opened a lot of new doors, and it really inspired me to keep going. Not that I was not inspired, but like, every once in a while you just gotta put on a new log in the fire, so to speak. And these 2 days were a lot of fuel for my fire. And so, yeah, I'm really happy I came. I'm also really excited to get back home and apply the things that I've learned, grow the channel, create more of a conversation about what it means to be a European creator, get more of us together in a room, and really figure out what the next step is for the creator culture. That is the mission for now. And if you want to join this mission of shaping creator culture, drop a comment below, sign up to the newsletter, connect with me. Whatever way is most approachable for you. That's how we can start a conversation and how we can drive the ship together in a direction rather than all of us cooking our own little thing. Yeah. Okay. That's the last thing I'll say. And yeah, talk to you soon.